Morning, everybody. It is 8:15 a.m. It is August 18th. Welcome to my channel. Now, we are near Friday's lows this morning. We are near Friday's lows. On Friday, it was OPEX, and I had a beautiful trade. I was live in my community and had the patience of a saint to take that short. I will be making a video on it with the combination of bookmap and just my overall auction market theory. Had a beautiful 3R trade, or 300%, however you want to call that, return on my risk. Um, I wish I recorded it. I really wish I recorded it because you could hear all of the experience I have with probabilities. Really, really, all working at once, basically. And I also described why I decided to just take it all off where I did. Made a little video in my Discord about it. I made it. It's an unlisted video. I don't think really many people watched it. I did make the video for one person in particular. I'm not even sure if that person watched it, but there's a lot of reasons why I look at the way I do. And it's the beautiful thing about my internals is they tell me when there's going to be an outsized move. And they did not tell me there was going to be an outsized move. Plus, it's OPEX. We pretend to, once the morning volatility happens, you tend to pin, and that's exactly what we did. Okay, we didn't move much after that. Good morning, Chief. All right. So, you know, I put in my headline, my card, and my YouTube, spies in balance. Okay, S&P 500 is in balance. Nasdaq's been a little relatively weak with the semis having some weakness on Friday about further tariffs and stuff being talked about semis and China and stuff like that. Okay, but nothing's going on yet, right? Price action makes you think one thing and then we don't do it, right? So we're coiling up. Yeah, big move's gonna happen. Big move's gonna happen eventually. Well, Chief, if you could do me a favor, I don't know where you are. It's in the, you should have got a notification. There's my boy right there. Yeah, Amalio. See, Amalio was with me step by step as I stalked like a sniper on Friday. It was a sniper like trade. And it was like I was explaining to him, it was a culmination of all my experience reading the market, really honoring it. And he was watching in real time all my decisions. Hey, I want to get short here. This is what I want to see, and if it doesn't come here, all that stuff. It was That's why I said I wish I really recorded it. Um, no, it's not a video with him. If you go to my Discord, I actually want to maybe you can ask Amalio or Rosita here. If you go to my Discord and you go to the community chat, I had a question asked. Um, what made me take out the low and not see it going further besides near yesterday's lows? So then I made a little video. It's unlisted, but usually if I share the link like I did here, anybody should be able to play it. It's odd that I don't even think that guy even saw it because I don't see many views on it. But I don't know if somebody could test it out and play it. That just explains why I didn't think there'd be an outsized move, basically. All right. So yeah, Amalio was there with me and saw me use Bookmap and okay, great. Uh, it just explains why I took it off the way I do. Not It didn't explain my trade necessarily, but like I said, I'm gonna be doing a video for the short on Friday, and maybe I get you some of your opinions because I usually do a little highlight video for social media. This time I might do a little more of a longer form length, but it's not going to be that long. So then you get a more detailed. It doesn't have to be snippets, and then maybe I'll cut up then a short from that. I haven't decided what I wanted to do yet. right? Amalio knows exactly step by step. He was seeing step by step of like what I want to see. If this happens, then I'll look this way. If this happens, it was constant, like assessing what was going on. So, all right. With that being said, all right, let's just get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, and most traded price of the month, the week, in the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. Okay, that is my edge. It's the way I look at the markets. Okay, now I also use anchored VWAPs in my market internals, which show me, just like I was explaining in that little video, what the market's capable of. What the market's capable of. Okay, and then we have my new baby, my bookmap. And bookmap, I'm not gonna lie, for myself, I'm not gonna speak for anybody else. It is a game changer. It's a game changer for me. Pulling the trigger much more earlier than I would normally, and it's really paying off. Literally paying off, and just paying off in the sense of that term. Okay, but that's for me, right? That's what I'm seeing. There's a patterns and stuff that I can consistently see. It's really nice. Okay, and then we come to my expected move. My expected move indicator, I ran it this morning and I posted it in the Discord. Throw it on your Thinkorswim, right? I already named out the stocks that all exceeded their expected moves yesterday. Once a bunch of those exceeded the expected moves, the Nasdaq tended to not be as strong. Okay, so always keep that on the lookout. It's your little guide to know, whoa, market's frothy, whoa, market's selling off. It's just a good guide. All right, and again, you can go to my Discord. All right, now hopefully you join me every morning. Give you the market story, give you the news, the economic calendar, just why the market's doing what it's doing. We talk about structure. All right, structure is king. Price action is not. Price action, yes, is when you're like day trading, but still structure is king. Prices can fool you. Price action can always fool you. Okay, you got to be grounded, really grounded in your structure, which is why I short it, right? So my pre-market video, I was talking about the ES and 6480, how important that was, right? And I said my bias would change if we broke that. Well, we did, and then I had to start looking short. Internals were weaker. See what I mean? Everything I have gives me a game plan. So stuff I use on my charts. That's why everything is a game plan. If this happens, then I have to look here. If this happens, this is what I wanted to do. That's my edge, right? It guides me. Those levels guide me. It's not just, oh, we broke support, I'm shorting. It's more. It's not as simple as that. It's simple for me, okay, because it's my system, obviously. But everybody has to have their own. All right. Everybody has to have their own. All right. Now, speaking of my indicator, like I told you, Discord, okay? There's my Discord. So, please sign up and join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Okay, you can go to my YouTube homepage, sign up, click on the link, right? Get involved, community chat. I mean, I have a questions chat. He probably, that one particular guy could have put it in questions, but that he put it in community chat, which is fine, and I answered him, right? So feel free to ask me questions. The weekly expected move, the free indicator here, I just posted the new one. So go ahead, add it to your chart. You can go to Thinkorswim, open shared item, throw it on your charts. You will see the expected move for the week. Okay, you will see it, and when you just watch it every week, it never fails to amaze me. Okay, never fails to amaze me. All right. So with that being said, enough of that stuff. Let's go right into futures. All right into futures, and let's see what's moving markets today. Okay. Our VIX is a little pumped up today. Okay. Up to a 15.58 VIX. Silver's up 0.68. Crude's up 0.50. 30-year bonds being bought. The crude's up I mean, sorry, gold's up to 0.28, dollar is up 0.18, Russell's up 0.14, the Dow is flat, ES is down 0.10, Nasdaq's down 0.16, 10-year yield is lower, down 0.62 at that trusty 4.2 yield. Bitcoin's down 1.66% and Ethereum's down 2.11%. Okay, moving on to the Mag 7 Plus here. Their leader is Google, but it's not much of a leader. It's only up 0.21, so it's not much leaders here. All right, now what moves our markets? These heavy market cap, mega cap stocks. We'll just go into who's lagging. Tesla's down 0.51. I saw they had some sales numbers in the UK. I think it's the UK. I'll make sure of that again. We'll go over the news. Meta's down 0.63. AMD down 1.11%. AMD just gets bought on dips, but let's see. Last week it hit its expected move of 185 and never saw anything above that expected move. Okay, Coinbase down 2.30. That's your Bitcoin proxy. Okay. As far as stocks that's moving top sectors, United Healthcare, after Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett bought United Healthcare, it is getting a mighty pop, right? That's what it probably needed to get other people saying, well, if Warren Buffett's buying that, I'm going to buy it, right? You can see down on the bottom of that list, UPS is down 1.27%. Okay, UPS is just super cheap, but it's a sign of the economy, right? Shipping and stuff like that. Also, like a lot of Amazon um, takes away from shipping, but I believe they did not renew with Amazon, and FedEx is going to do. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's the news there. Let's just look at real quick granular. Let's see for solar. That's obviously solar energy and Enphase. They're both solar related, right? They're up. They're up. CoreWeave got smoked last week. It's getting some love. CVS got an upgrade. That's why that's up. Tilray's up 1.94. Lululemon also got, I believe, some kind of, I don't remember. Let's look at the laggards here. SoundHound down. Intel down. Mara Mining down 2.3. MicroStrategy. Now, the one weird part about MicroStrategy is usually it's lock and step, pretty volatile with Bitcoin. It is disconnected. It did not rise when Bitcoin hit all-time highs. Very odd. Okay, very odd. It's a little bit of a red flag. All right, I know a lot of people are buying that Misty ETF that gives high dividends from MicroStrategy, and that dipped pretty hard. So you don't see that a lot of people posting about that lately. All right, now we're going to move on to the sectors. That's what really matters here. And muted action kind of. Now, healthcare, I've been talking about this. Healthcare has been the laggard sector. It's been beaten down. Eli Lilly got beaten down from their, or had good earnings, but then they missed their pill for weight loss. I think they were expecting a 15% reduction in weight, and they got like a 12%. So the market didn't like that. And then Novo Nordisk, I think had better results than them. It's still a good company, right? But the pharma tariffs and all this stuff going on was not good for Eli Lilly. It's gotten smoked, but since has recovered. And then Warren Buffett purchasing United Healthcare is pushing United Healthcare. Okay, that was down to 234 not too long ago, and it's at 312. Okay, and they make money, so it's probably a matter of time before the people just start loading into that stock. What else here? Who's down? There's not really a big downer except semis. Semis is down 0.40. Remember, semis down means risk off. Semis up means risk on. Okay, just how you look at it. Obviously, when the market opens, people can buy dips, do whatever they want. All right, dips do whatever they want. All right, let's get into the economic calendar. We'll look into this week. All right, we'll look into this week. So let's look at the economic calendar together. All right, today we have NHAB Housing Market Index at 10 a.m. That's really usually not a market mover. Tuesday, Fed Bowman, API crude. Wednesday, you got some Fed speak, and we got the FOMC minutes. So you get the minutes from the FOMC meeting. Okay, Fed Bostic, and Jackson Hole is happening. Jackson Hole. So that's an important thing in Jackson Hole. All right, so Thursday, more Fed, PMI, Philly Fed, and 60 home sales, and Jackson Hole, right? They're all in Jackson Hole. But on Friday at 10 a.m., Friday at 10 a.m. is Fed Chair Powell. So he's going to be speaking at 10 a.m. on Friday. That should be pretty decent to hear that. Okay. Now, let's move into some news here. Let's look at some stocks this morning. Palo Alto stock rose 0.4% with the cybersecurity firm expected to headline the slate of July quarter returns after the closing bell. Novo Nordisk stock rose 3 points after the drug maker received U.S. approval for its weight loss drug Wegovy to treat a serious liver condition. Tesla stock fell 0.6 after the Times reported that the EV manufacturer is offering discounts up to 40% to car leasing firms in the UK to shore up sliding sales. That's what I was talking about. And United Healthcare, I already talked about that. The Warren Buffett. Now Sunrun is solar, I believe, and rose 2.2. That it probably explains the for solar and Enphase, which is a sympathy play for Sunrun. Okay, sympathy just means it's in the same sub industry, and if one person gets good news, people are going to buy the other stocks in sympathy with that stock. All right, CBS stock gained 2.2 after UBS upgraded it. Moving on, let's look at the more news here. Home Depot and Lowe's earnings face housing slowdown, tariffs test. All right, so they report earnings this week. Powell has used Jackson Hole to battle inflation and buoy jobs. He's now caught between both. Let's see. Google agrees 36 million fine for anti-competitive deals with Australia telcos. Let's see. Fewer fake furs, higher prices. China tariff delay does little to save the holidays. And here's Tesla almost halves UK monthly lease fee as sales slump. Let's see if anything else is in here. Well, let's look at some of these. Berkshire Hathaway, TD Cowen cuts target price to 708. All right. Dollar General, Jeffries raises target price to 130 from 126. I've seen these types of stores get some love lately. Dollar Tree, Jeffrey raises target price to 130 from 106. Ross stores, Jeffrey raises target price to 170 from 150. Now, if you saw the RRG charts that I was doing, retail has had a nice move. Not all, but some of these like Dollar General and stuff like that has done that. And let me know if you ever want you want me to start doing your RRG charts. Maybe I'll do them once a week or something like that. You can just see what sectors, and then inside those sectors, what stocks are moving. Okay, that's good for like little swing plays. All right, you can actually see what's really moving, right? And what the results of that RRG charts was that XME mining was like the strength of the move up from August 1st. That was the leader, and Jets was very powerful as well. Semis were up, but not as much as the XME. Okay, moving on. Let's look at the juice. Juice is telling us U.S. equities futures dipped and treasuries climbed to begin a week that will be shaped by the extent of progress toward a peace deal with Ukraine. All right. Now today, August 18th. Let's see. Trump greets Zelensky at 1 o'clock. I hope to be done by the markets. I don't want to be involved in any of that. Trump and Zelensky meeting at 1:15. 2:15, Trump greets European leaders. All right, so Trump's going to be active today. He's going to be active today. All right. What else do I usually look at? Let's look at our breath real quick. It's a nice little breath look here. See, and here we are. Right. 50. Let's just call 50. 50% of stocks are above the 20 simple moving average. 50% of stocks are below. That's a breath indicator that just tells you the market is split in half. Okay. Yes, we've been rising. Of late, we ticked down a little bit, but overall breath is like in the middle. Okay. But remember, mega cap stocks move our market. We're a market cap weighted index. It doesn't matter. But I like to look at the overall breath. Okay. That's what I like to look at. All right. I think we're ready just to recap market internals real quick. My bread and butter. My market internals. All right. Give me one sec here. What I want to do here is fix this because Hold on a second. Sorry. Just want to fix this real quick for everybody's pleasure of viewing, because I noticed that I cut off prices here, and I don't want to do that. I did not want to cut off prices. Oh, there's the change. Alrighty. So if we look at our market internals recap, right? Just want to show you something, and I'll sum up that video too. Okay, here's a market internal. So we started off a little in the beginning, like, all right, some over zero, and then the market just started to get weak. Okay, and you can see up here the top four sectors were all weak. Right off the bat, when we started doing that, I said, and Malio's here, right? I said the market's weak, not super weak, but I don't want to be longing when the top four sectors are in the red. So I have to look for a short. Okay. And so as this was weakening, right, you could see weakening. All right. I believe this is the SPX. If I was to go back and this is the SPX, I got short in here, right in here. And then I went all the way down and caught my target for a 3-to-1 risk to reward. Okay. Pretty quick. Pretty nice trade. And then that was the low. Right? Why was that the low? Now again, everything I'm telling you is probabilities. It's probabilities. It's what I've seen over and over again. It's a movie you've seen over and over and over. There's outliers that, oh wow, I didn't think we'd go that far. There could be a news catalyst, right? But probability, and these little Valdez, these are called Valdez. I think it's $ Valdez. All right, if you want to pull it up. But these are just my ratios. All right, I don't have to look at the actual Valdez. But what it represents is, in this case, if it's red, that just means there was. This is not. This is where the ratio, right? When you have a 1-to-1 ratio, okay, that's really the important part. That just means that there's pretty much equal sellers and buyers in the market. Now, this is for the overall market. This is an overall market breadth, okay? So even when we were at our weakest, it was still not at 2-to-1. It was at 1 point something to 1, right? So what this says, let's say we look at the red. That just means there's 1.04 more sellers, more selling going to the down stocks than up stocks. Okay, if it's green, it's the opposite. It's 1.07 to 1 of buying going into up stocks versus down stocks. Okay, so it just gives you a real quick ratio. Now I've seen 13-to-1, negative, positive, and it's a monster day. So now while I'm looking at that, it tells me you're probably not going to get an outsized move, and we didn't. Okay, and Amalio can attest to it. Not sure if he's still watching. When I originally put my target, I said I'm going to put my target here out of like a 3-to-1, right before front run the previous day's lows, and then I was going to have a runner. But then when I looked at that, and I looked at the profile, okay, when I looked at this profile, it was very balanced. And I said, you know what? The move's probably in. Okay, I'm talking about this profile. The move's probably in. Got a balanced range. That's probably it. And that was it. That was it. That was the end of the day. No more low. Didn't never go there. Never went there again. Okay. So that's the market internals. Now notice these stayed red. You're not going to get a big move up if these are red. Okay. So that's basically the gist of that. That's your market internals. Now, moving on, we'll go to our daily charts and see what's going on. Now, my new expected move, remember, indicator is out. Is out. All right, let's go to daily charts here now. So on this particular chart, what I use, I have a zero expansion. So you're not going to see the up and down in my indicator until the market opens today. I do that on purpose so I can see My orange are the previous weeklies, and the whites of the previous monthlies. I don't want to see anything else in my chart. That's why I keep it that way. But if you want to know the expected move for this week is $11.90 in the SPY. The range is going to be 631.54 to 655.34. That's the expected range. But like I said, go to my Discord, join my Discord, use the free indicator. Okay. Now, if we go real quickly to the SPY, it's not too much to glean here. We're in balance, 3-day balance. Okay, 3-day balance. We're queuing up for a move. Up or down, don't know, but we're queuing up. Now, seasonality wise, maybe I would edge towards maybe a move lower because August into September is usually seasonally bearish. Okay, but I don't know. All right, where are we at now? 642. 642.66, 642.66. We're at the lows. We're at the lows of Friday. Okay. So, like I said, we're in 3-day balance. What is going to happen here? I don't know. Okay. That's the beauty of having a plan, right? I don't know. Let's look at futures. Here we go. So, futures, we're just in balance. Okay. We're just balancing. Now, we are balancing here the Friday session's lows, right? We haven't even hit the 90-minute daily since this day, which is August 12th. So, like I said, there's a lot of games when you're in balance, right? Because you got to think about it. Whoever is short here knows if you come down here, they're going to start taking profits if people start buying. And then you go back up, and guess what happens? Shorts cover their position, new longs come in, shorts become buyers, and the new buyers push the stock back up to here. And then the whole thing repeats. That's why you have balance. Now you can see in futures we're within the previous week's range. You're kind of almost in the middle. Almost. The middle would be around here. Okay. Moving on to the Qs. All right, here's our Qs. Now the Qs is a different story. It's been relatively weaker. Okay, particularly the semis. All right, so you can see we had a nice rise up, but I didn't go back to the SPY, but it's pretty uncanny that you go look. In this case, my chart is black candles, but black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black. Kind of nuts how this pattern is still holding up. I'm not telling you to trade off that pattern, but it's just like, wow, that is pretty crazy. Let's look at it here. So you could see, what did we do last week? We pretty much held the previous week's highs and the last month's highs. Didn't hit the 90 MA daily yet. Okay. So where are we now? 576.24. 576.24. We're at the lows of Friday, right? Let's look at futures to get a little different view. Okay. And you can see we're just trending lower, right? Lower highs, lower lows. Okay. Trending higher. But if you look to the left, let's see, we look to the left a little bit. You got some congestion here. 90 MA daily. Here's last week's highs, last week's lows. Kind of in the middle, almost the last week here. Okay. Definitely NASDAQ is weaker. All right. It is weaker. So if I was going to like a short, probably I would like a short in the Qs. And you also got to think money could be going into healthcare. Right. So a little rotation. Healthcare used to be like the second heaviest market cap weight sector. It's not anymore. It's like number 6 or 5 because it's been beaten down so much. It's been beaten down so much. Okay. So that's that. That's your NASDAQ and your ES. Okay. I think we're ready for some hourly chart analysis here. Just do a real quick little recap. Not a recap, just some levels I'm looking at here. Okay. So let me tidy up this chart. Alrighty. Let's look at it. This is your 1-hour chart. Like I said, I'm gonna get my marker out and we'll just mark it up, right? Look at some levels. Okay. What I mean in the SPY we know that the 642 is around, been support, right? And I just put this box here. This has been the support, basically the same in your ES. Okay, that's what it is. All right, you want to equate. It's around 6460s, 6450 to 6460. Okay. Now the one thing key I wanted to note here. This is CPI anchored VWAP. Okay, you can see that white line now. We're underneath it, right? So the average buyer in here is underwater. Okay, these are all-time highs made in an overnight session in the ES. Okay, that's the anchor VWAP from the all-time highs, and you can see that the sellers from this all-time high are in control because we're below that price. Now, if you know anything about Brian Shannon, I believe that him, he's like they call the godfather of the anchored VWAP. And what he talks about here is when you have like an anchor VWAP from the low and the high, and he calls this the pinch. Okay, and it really determines where we're going to go. So right now, if we continue to go lower and break this support, we could definitely end up where ultimate balance. It should be ultimate balance. We'll call it 6410 as a roundabout number. Okay. 6480 is the level that I was biased, the bull bear line on Friday. That's why I shorted. Okay. That's why I shorted. That's why I caught that move right here. Boom. Right. But then we recovered. But look what 6480 has done. Right. This level. Remember, it's an area. Well, bulls cannot accept a price above it. So you're here now. But look what's happening. How good are the shorts doing here? Not very good. See all this support? Now, could it fall apart? Sure. But this is coiling up, right? This is a little coil, and we're going to either boop, go back up here to test this to roll over, or we're maybe going to break this support and go back to ultimate balance. I don't know. But that's how you have to look at the markets. You got to be open. Open to whatever. Doesn't matter. Now, this is the previous month's highs, so we're underneath those, right? You know, if you're going to look at a trend, we're trending lower, right? But that's a pretty good coil right there. So we just have to see. Just have to see. Okay. That's your ES. Let's look at the NASDAQ. Remember, NASDAQ is relatively weaker in structure. So let's look at the NASDAQ together. Here's your NASDAQ. Okay. You can just see it, right? There's all-time highs. So the same thing. Now notice, CPI anchor VWAP, the average buyer is underwater. All-time high, they're in control. The sellers. Okay. They are in control. All right. So our levels to watch, right? The big boy in your NASDAQ is the what is it? 239, call it 23930 is about, okay? It's this right here. That's a monster level. Remember I told you that was the bull bear line in the NASDAQ, and that's why also I shorted the ES, because they could not, they really fell under that level on Friday. Okay? They really fell under that level. So you can just see it's a straight downtrend lately in the NASDAQ. Okay? And then you got this support here around 23750s. Okay? That's what it's looking like. Now, do we break this? I don't know. Do we break this? Don't know. Okay? That's just the levels to look at. You got to stay below the 23930s. That's a big level. As long as you stay below that, you should have a bearish bias. Okay? You got these swing lows. Swing low. So I'm sorry, swing high, right? You don't want to lose those swing highs. As long as we keep making lower highs, here we can pump up, and you're going to go lower. All right? That's just basic structure. But you're getting a lot of support here. You're getting support here. I wouldn't be surprised if we popped up. This is not bullish. This is just, well, if shorts can't make this thing go lower, eventually you're going to give it up. All right, and like I said, that doesn't mean it's bullish. It just means that's how it works. Now, one pattern I have to let you know about is called an H pattern, right here. That generally is not good for shorts. Okay, Peter Rezenchek, give him a credit for that. He calls it hell for shorts. He says usually when you see an H pattern, you usually do a manipulation here. On this, you usually go a little lower, and they think it's going to go, and then the market goes like that. That's why he calls it hell for shorts. Now, again, is anything 100%? No. I'm talking probabilities. Am I going to base everything on an H pattern? No. I'm just letting you know about it. Okay? That's the hourly charts, folks. All right, now we're ready to just get right into the scenarios here. We'll analyze. Let me just switch my workspace here. We'll get right into the market profile. I'm trying not to take too much of your time. All right, here we are. Let's get right into it. This is your market profile and volume profile analysis here. All right, you can clearly see balance. Okay, but of course, if you just want it easy on the eyes, look at that beautiful profile. Beautiful, beautiful balance profile. Right, we're in balance. So when you're in balance like this, right? Yes, we're eventually going to break out. How long we stay in balance, nobody knows. Okay, so let's look at it. 64.80 is our most traded price of the week. That is your mean. That is your mean. So it's right here. Okay. Now we were gapping lower. We're not anymore. We're not anymore. We came into this area of support, and the sellers could not push it lower. Okay. So this is not a proper profile. It is ugly. All right. So we have a poor high. This is poor structure to the upside. That is not how an auction ends. Okay. You have a weak low, which just means that it's a poor low is literally equal 30-minute TPOs or 30-minute bars. Okay. And that just means longs had poor location. Same thing down here. You have a weak low, which just means you don't really have a proper tail. Okay. And right here. Okay. So, and you have kind of like a double distribution with kind of like very thin volume in the middle. Okay. So very odd profile for the overnight. Now, I would say, obviously, you have more volume here. You have overnight VPOC right here, 64.62. That is more of a bearish imbalance to the profile. It looks like it might want to clean this up and go a little lower, right? So, how are we going to look at this? Now, we know we're in balance. We know this is our area of balance. Okay, generally, and when you're in balance, go down to the lows, people buy it up, and we go to the other side of balance. And then it keeps happening, right? Until we break out to the upside or to the downside. That's how balance works. Okay, it's not rocket science. Anybody who's short up here will take profits at the lows, and then, like I said, they become buyers when they take their profits and new buyers come in. That's just how it works. All right, until we move. So value areas here. All right. And let's start just putting some levels on. Now you have some overhead supply here. Big supply zone up here. Big supply zone with some resistance lines up here, 6,500, and what is this level, like 64.91. Okay, you have another supply zone here. That's the 6 to 480. Okay, and that's where you have that poor high in your overnights with the 64.80 most traded price of the week. The most traded price of the week. Also is value area high from Friday. Okay, now we're all underneath this, right? Most traded price of the overnight is your 64.62. 64.62. Now, one thing I don't talk about a lot, you kind of had a prominent POC. Prominent POC. That's a market profile term. Okay, prominent POC means you have multiple TPOs at one price. Market profile is a time-based thing. So 64.7825 is your POC. It's pretty much 64.80. Okay, that is the most time spent. Now, whenever you think you get a minimum of 7 TPOs at one price, it becomes a prominent POC. That just means most times a prominent POC like that, the market tends to come back to it and test it. Okay, now the volume pruning control was not that. It was low. Remember, market profile is time based, volume profile is volume based. So they don't always agree, but they're both good indicators. Okay, now we know we have this support area right here. Okay, and another important part, all right, the week to date anchored VWAP right here held this market. All right, now we have a new week to date anchored VWAP. You can see it's in the red because from Sunday night it starts tracking the VWAP. So sellers are in control for the week. It's early though. It's early. Okay. So let's get right into how we're going to play this. Now let me open up this profile here. See the price action. You can see the poor high, the weak low, just poor structure. Okay, there's no tails in this profile. So we're going to make a tail here or here. How do we do it? I don't know. Okay. Now, let's get into scenarios. Okay. So right off the bat, we're going to start with the bullish side. Okay, bullish. Why bullish? Because we're at the balanced lows. Okay. So, what I would like to see, since we have poor structure here, I would love to see this cleaned up. Boom. And then everybody think we're going short. Right? Or we're breaking out to the downside. Suck them in. Right? Internals are not that weak. So I have to look at my internals. If I'm looking at internals, I'm like, this is not even weak. Right? I love a little bear trap here. So go down to the 6450s, recover, do some higher lows, and then where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? We're going to probably tag most traded price of Friday, and then we're going to go right to 6480. The mean. Now, the mean is the middle of balance, right? So if we take that out, take the supply out, right? And then we retest and we hold it, yeah, we're going back to the balance highs around 6508s, okay? That's a clear balance rules long. Okay? That's a balance rules long. I think that's my favorite for a long. Not I think, I know. Okay, now, could it get more not like that, right? Yeah, it could. It could. You could get, we could open up and push up here. You're probably going to get some resistance here, 6480, right? I wouldn't love this as much. What I would want to see here is you break that overnight high, poor high, boom. But there's a big heavy supply zone here, and then you'd have to retest and hold and hold. Now, this move up will not be smooth. Should not be. It will be begrudgingly. It might melt. So like I said, I'd rather have this, right? Because let's say I get long down here somewhere. I don't have to go all the way up here. I'll be perfectly fine, you know. My risk to reward lately has been like 3 to 1. So like even if let's just say I'm long around 64.55, I don't need much. If it's 50 to 5 point risk, 15 points, what is that? 70, 64. I could take it off here at the most. I mean, then I'm golden. It all depends if I really want to hold a runner. Okay, that's all I'm interested in. Not really interested in much other than that. What I just showed you. Okay. And remember, internals drive my decision, so I don't know how they're going to look, the internals. I just don't know. All right, bear side. Okay. Remember, bounce lows. Okay. So the best bet for a short, okay, is a couple things that could happen. We could just push up into the 6480s, right, into supply. And what I'd like to see is a little correction, a little structure correction here. Suck everybody in. Fall back under 6480. Retest. And then you short. Okay. You look, and then you're going to look to break the overnight poor structure, overnight lows, the 64, 56s, 50s, the 64, 56, 50s, all right, and see if you can break this right here, the 64.50. Now, if you can, and the market's weak, yeah, this could fall down to 64.10s. That used to be ultimate balance. Okay, the more we coil up there, the bigger the move. Okay. Now, if you're conservative and you're like, you know what, I'm not comfortable shorting up here, you're gonna want to wait for the break of this structure here, and then you're gonna want to wait to see if we could find acceptance below here. Okay, and then maybe get a test and we can fall. All right. Now, if we make it all the way up here to balance highs, this is a player. It just means, though, if we make it up here, the market's probably not that weak. However, imbalance rules, whenever you go back to the other side of balance highs, generally the balance low people who are long take profits and you can roll back a little bit. Okay, that's your ES. Now, moving on to NASDAQ. Remember, NASDAQ is a different structure. NASDAQ is a different structure. Okay, so let's look at it here. Okay. Ooh, we got a nice level here, boy. Man, NASDAQ, you're giving me a nice level. All right, so we got what I call a confluence low here, right here. 237.38 right here. You got an overnight low is equivalent to the RTH low, okay, on Friday. So I'm going to make a box here on the tip of this demand zone here. Okay. Now, another ugly profile. Another ugly profile. Now we have more supply, overhead supply in NASDAQ. NASDAQ is going to have a hard time to move up higher. There's a lot of overhead supply. Okay. Right off the bat. A lot of overhead supply. Okay. And we're inside Friday's range. Now you got a prominent POC as well in your NASDAQ. That's the 238.10s. That's your prominent POC. I would expect a retest of that. That's right here. Now the POC and the volume POC match in a NASDAQ. Very prominent POC. Okay. Write that down. 238.10s. You're probably going to retest that NASDAQ level. Right? It's making its way towards it already. Okay, take my word for it. Okay. Now remember, our what is it? Our 23930s around here. Remember, that is your level that you want to stay below in the Nasdaq. It's almost traded price of the week. Okay, stay below that by bear bias. Bear bias. Okay, you have a lot of overhead supply, like I said. Now this supply zone encompasses that prominent POC. Okay. You have another supply zone here that encompasses the overnight VPOC and your overnight highs. There's so much overhead supply here. Like I said, it really has to do a lot of work. Okay, now let's get into it. Okay, let me spread it out here. Okay, and right off the bat, I gotta go bear. See what I mean? Here we go. Let me put up the graphic here. Okay, so you can see we do have poor structure here. It doesn't give me a poor whatever, but it is. There's not really a proper tail here. Okay, and like I said, what can I expect? Prominent POC, right? 238.10s. I expect to come in here and test. It also is the week to day VWAP, but I expect this test. Maybe we go into those little bit of low volume nodes here, and then I can think you can roll. Break the 274, 237.43 is the overnight lows. And what's beautiful about this level, 237.34s, if you break that with vengeance, remember that's going to take out Friday's lows and the overnight lows. You're going to get a nice move down to where? This demand zone, 236.76. I believe this is the day of the CPI data, and we ripped up. Okay, that's a pretty nice demand zone. You could pop a little here. Okay, you could pop a little bit, but if you start cooking, you could work yourself down to last week's lows, 23587s. Okay, 23587s. There is a high volume node down here, and the anchored VWAP for the month, 23506s. If you get really cooking, I don't know, right? I don't know what this market's going to do. That's a scenario. Okay. Now, the difference in the NASDAQ, okay, is you got multiple opportunities here to short. Okay. This is perfect scenario. Now, if we were to go up and test this, poor high, same thing, but boom, and roll. Okay. I have a lot of opportunities here. Even remember, the monster level here is your 23930s. Now, the only way that I'm really interested in that short is I want to see some type of really powerful move up here that doesn't get the market enough time to build steam and go like this: rejection, boom, retest, and then I can short. Okay. Notice I'm more open to shorts in multiple levels, not in the ES. Okay. Go to the long side. Long side here. I don't have a lot of longs here that I'm like I'm loving. Okay. That I'm loving. Now the one would happen here would be this. Okay. This could be the bear trap. If you break the overnight lows and the RTH lows, I know you're going to get some type of excursion here. Let's say it's limited. You recover. Market's not that weak, some higher lows. You're going to test. Now this is where everything comes together, right? You're going to test probably that prominent POC, your 23810s. This is a nice trade in itself. And that could be it. Okay, I'm not calling for an all-out move. Okay, now the other thing here could be a little stronger push quick into this demand, and you could get a little outsized little bounce here. And again, probably to that prominent POC. Notice, not expecting much. Not expecting much. All right. Now, what else would I be involved in as a long? I don't think I would be right here that I'm looking at it. Maybe, and just listening to me, I'm probably not interested. But let's say we do break the prominent POC. This is probably one, if the internal started to get strong, we'd have to do this. We'd have to take out the overnight highs, come into the supply, probably fail, but hold the prominent POC. Then maybe you can tag these highs for the day and maybe get up to the most traded price of the week, the 23930s. I don't love that, but it's possible. It's possible. Okay? That's it, folks. That's it for the scenarios today. Hopefully I'm making sense. Okay? If I am, smash the like button for me. That'd be much appreciated. Okay? And as always, please join me every day. Give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, a bunch of technical analysis. I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios, right? And of course, I would love to see you in my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, sign up, join, come over, use that free indicator, slap it on your charts, then use me as your indicator. I think if Mario is still with me, and also Rosita, who's in here, I'm not sure if Documents is in here, they can attest to me not guiding you wrong. All right? Just if you just want to hear my commentary and to say, you know, Steve, that's my name, is not, he's telling me that there's not probably much probability to the downside or to the upside, or we're going to be in the range, or wow, expect a big move. I'm going to let you know. And then you can trade accordingly. But I'm not going to steer you wrong. Okay? So, that's going to do it for me, folks. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember, no trade's a trade. Right? Everybody's got a plan. Try to stick to it. right? Try to stick to that plan. Now, I'm not sure if Amalio or who's going to be joining me today, but like I said, if there's enough interest, shout out, give me a DM or put it in my Discord server or right here and say, hey, I'll be there live if you want to go live. I have no problems going live, giving you live commentary, right? However, if there's just not much interest and I'm not going to be in a room talking to myself, I will do my normal commentary and you can just track that. All right. So if I don't see you in there, I'll see everybody tomorrow morning.